Hello, welcome to Raymond Castile's Basement of Horror. This episode deals with the Colgate-Palmolive Soakies. Soakies. Now, this is a Soaky, I guess. This is an Avon bubble bath container, and we did an episode on these last season, the Avon Dinosaur bubble bath containers. There's 3 of them. And I think I said on that episode that you could classify these as Soakies. Not officially, because officially Colgate-Palmolive used Soaky as a brand name for their line of character bubble bath containers. But since then, collectors have come to use that word Soaky to describe any character bubble bath container. If it is shaped like a character, so it could be used as a toy, but it's filled with bubble bath, it's a Soaky, as far as contemporary toy collectors are concerned. In our Ghostbusters episode, we showed a Slimer bubble bath container, and I think I called that a Soaky as well. That's an example from the 1990s or early 90s. That's an example of a Soaky in the generic sense. And even today, they still make bubble bath containers that are shaped like characters that you can use as a toy. The first unofficial Soakies were produced in the 1950s. And I don't think it was Colgate-Palmolive that produced the first ones, but there were some licensed character bubble bath containers in the 1950s, and they weren't all standing upright like the later Soakies. Some of them were lying down, but those were the first character bubble bath containers. Now, Colgate-Palmolive, I tried to find a date for when did they officially start their line of official branded Soakies. And the only thing I could find was the trademark information. So no one has that I could find, no one has a website or something that says Colgate-Palmolive launched the Soaky line in this year. But there is, if you do a trademark search, Colgate-Palmolive registered the trademark Soaky on November 16th, 1961. 1961. And it expired in 2004. I think it was listed as having been abandoned in 2004. So that could be that they launched the Soaky brand in 1961, or maybe they took out the trademark that year and then launched it the following year. I don't know. But the monsters we're going to look at, the monster Soakies, were released in 1963. And there again, I've seen some different dates on those, but I'm going to go with 1963. That seems to be the agreed upon date. Most people go with 1963. And maybe there'll be a date on them. I mean, I haven't looked at these things in years and years and years, so there could be a date on the toy, I don't know. Colgate-Palmolive. I have some notes. I'm looking over here at notes. Let's just bring them over here. Colgate-Palmolive. That's a New York-based company. And Colgate was founded in 1806. Palmolive was founded in 1917. It was another company first, and then it became Palmolive in 1917. And then Palmolive bought Colgate in 1928, and that's when it became Colgate-Palmolive. I think there was also a company called Peel that was attached to it, but then they dropped that. But in 1928, Colgate and Palmolive became one company. And it's more complicated than that. If you want the detailed history of those two companies and how they came together, you can Google that and find out more. That's not what we're here for today. Colgate-Palmolive made a variety of Soakies. And I don't know if they ever called the Soakies plural like I'm doing. It was always S-O-A-K-Y. I don't know if they ever referred to them as S-O-A-K-I-E-S. We do, the collectors do. I don't know if Colgate-Palmolive did that or not. They were officially called Soaky. They were Soaky toys. And they made all kinds of cartoon characters, like all Disney cartoon characters, Warner Brothers, Bullwinkle, different TV cartoons. They made Smokey Bear, Dick Tracy, Mr. Magoo. I think they made Mr. Magoo, the Beatles. So they did celebrities too. They did all kinds of, it was mostly cartoons, but they also did various TV shows and celebrity characters. And they did at least some movie characters because they did do the Universal monsters. Frankenstein, the Mummy, the Creature from the Black Lagoon, and the Wolfman in 1963. And they were licensed to Universal Studios toys. And you might have seen a Dracula Soaky online if you've been looking for these and finding out information. That is a fan-made item. That's not genuine. That's not vintage. That is a fan-made fantasy piece, and it's cast in resin, so it's not a genuine vintage plastic Colgate-Palmolive monster Soaky. Besides the Universal monsters, there are some unofficial Soakies. Now this is a King Kong Soaky, and I don't know who made this. I'm pretty sure it's not Colgate-Palmolive, and I don't think it's still full, so I have to be careful with this. I don't want to make a mess. It's full of bubble bath. It's flocked. It's flocked, you know, so it's furry, it's fuzzy. So here's this King Kong Soaky. This fuzzy, furry King Kong Soaky. And it looks kind of like the A.J. Renzi Kong, and I think some people refer to it as an A.J. Renzi Soaky, but I don't think A.J. Renzi had anything to do with this. It does resemble their little King Kong bank. They had made a blow-molded bank of King Kong. They made a big one, they made a little one. They made them in different colors. We've seen them on the show before. And it resembles that, but I don't think A.J. Renzi made this. I don't know who made it. Maybe someone out there can tell me. The head pops off, and there's a cap in there, and you can pour out the bubble bath. And like I said, this is heavy. It's full. It's full of bubble bath. I don't know what year it's from. I'm guessing 60s, because that's when the A.J. Renzi banks, the blow-molded banks, came out. That's when the Colgate-Palmolive Soakies were out. So I'm thinking probably this is from that same era, the 60s, but I don't really know. I don't think there's any markings. I mean, it's flocked, so if there were any markings molded onto it, they're covered up with the flocking, the fuzziness. And I mean, it's a really cute, my hair's in my eyes. It's a really cute toy. I mean, it's a very cute little thing, that's for sure. And I don't know how it managed to survive this long without the bubble bath getting out of there somehow. But oh, you know, this is interesting. Look at the teeth. I just noticed the fangs are separate and sticking out. Look at that. That's unique. Look how the fangs are standing apart from the rest of the mouth. You would think it would be molded so that the fangs went all the way back to the back of the mouth, and it would just be like paint on the front. But the fangs are actually out, stand alone, like a model kit. In front of the mouth is recessed and the fangs are out in front. So how they molded that, how they got that out of the mold, I don't know. That is interesting. Unless the inside of the mouth is a separate piece glued in, I don't know. That's a detail I never noticed before. I would think they'd be hard to mold that and get it out of the mold. So that's an unofficial Soaky. Probably, I don't know, but probably from roughly the same era as the ones we're going to see, but I don't know that for sure. Now I keep my Soakies in this Prada shoebox. This is a, do you still see the word? There it is. Prada shoebox. And you see it says Monster Soakies on it. And they have been in this box for, oh gosh, probably 20 years. And back when I did the UMA traveling toy exhibit, this is the box that I would travel around with this box. And you can see what kind of lengths I've gone to here to care for them. So let's get this out. There they are. And there's one more that I'll show you that's not in this. Let's put this here and we'll deal with them individually. Keep this straight. Let's see here. Put that right there. Okay. All right. That's set. Let's get out our first Soaky. We'll look at Frankenstein first. There's an actual, legitimate, official Colgate-Palmolive Frankenstein Silky, and there is information on the back, so let's just see if there's anything we can learn here. Directions. Pour, maybe we should try this one that's not black, it's hard to read. Pour 2 caps for each bath directly under running water. Mix well before placing child in tub. Make sure bottle is empty and drained before giving to child as toy. Okay, and there's something on the bottom here. Universal Pictures, Colgate-Palmolive, New York, New York, Soaky, contains 11 fluid ounces. So that's the marking. So there's no date. I was kind of hoping there might be a date. Here is the Frankenstein Silky. Very, very iconic 1960s monster toy. The look of these, the style of these things is just super iconic if you're into 60s monster toys. And the paint on the hands is always a mess. The paint on this one is actually pretty good. I've never seen one that had perfect paint. I suspect even back in the 60s, as soon as the kids started handling it, the paint came off. Because this is blow molded plastic, and the paint just doesn't stick to it. So it's very hard to find these with good paint. The head is a more rigid plastic. So the head seems to be injection molded, more rigid plastic, but the body is blow molded. It's a lightweight, soft plastic. Like most shampoo bottles or bubble bath containers today, the same kind of plastic they're made of. It's like kind of like a milk carton, that kind of plastic. So we'll start standing these up here for now. Oh, don't fall. hope they don't fall. If it falls and it hits, hits that paint's going to be a mess. Actually, that's probably not wise. Let's put him over here. There we go. Okay. I'll stand him up at the end. Now let's look at the mummy. And this mummy is unique because he has his box. And this is all the packaging. Well, this is all the box packaging they came with. They also had a tag around the neck. So all the only packaging was a tag around the neck and these little boxes that they stood in. So let's see if there's anything to read on here. It says Colgate Soaky the Fun Bath. And there's the Soaky Kid. We'll mention him in a minute. Soaky 25 fun baths. Soaks you clean. No bathtub ring. There's the instructions again. Same as before. 11 fluid ounces. New York, New York. Let's go ahead and take him out. Ah! Set you right there. Let's see here. No information about the date or anything. When it's empty, it's a toy. Leaves no bathtub ring. More fun than getting dirty. I like that. Less scrubbing in the tub. Okay, so you can see on that kid in the bathtub, that's the Soaky Kid. That's the mascot for the line. So advertisements used that kid, the Soaky Kid, and he would tell you about the Soakies. If you want to read these little things, you can pause it and read these little phrases on it. And there's nothing on the bottom but that. And here is the mummy. He is a cute little mummy. And you remember in our last episode we looked at the anchor hawking glasses. And the mummy on those glasses had a green head and a green hand. And look at that. Green head and green hand. Just like the Soaky. And they came out roughly the same time, as best as we know. I think the glasses probably are, as you might recall, there's some disagreement whether they're 62 or 63. They're probably 63. And these are 63. So they came out at the same time. Who knows if one influenced the other. And there we have one blind eye. We have blood on his bandages. And we have a cobra. And even though it's not painted, the details continue on the back. But the backs are not painted. I don't think any of these have any paint on the back, just the front. He's awfully cute. I really like this mummy. He's really cute. I'm not going to take the heads off to show you the cap because these heads are very fragile. They're very brittle. Unlike the bodies, the heads have become very brittle with time, and usually they're cracked. Even if you take very good care of them, they generally have a crack somewhere, and often they're very, very cracked. So you want to be careful with those. Let's see, how is he standing now? Was he like this? Okay. Can you stand up? Because you've got a box. Okay, we'll let him stand up. I might live to regret that, but we'll let him stand there. Now, I pointed out the blind eye, the blood on the bandages, and the cobra for a reason. And, well, we'll see this again with the Wolfman. The Universal movie Mummy, and this is based on Karras, Lon Chaney Jr.'s mummy, it never had blood on the bandages. Or you see that the blind eye doesn't have blood dripping from it, but is red. So there's a suggestion of blood. The movie Mummy never had blood on them. And there was never a cobra associated with the mummy. But the Aurora model kit, which is also roughly contemporaneous with this, I don't know exactly what year the mummy kit came out. It might have been a year before this, I'm not sure, but it was roughly the same time, within a year or two. And that mummy had, the Aurora mummy model kit had artwork by James Bama, and in that artwork, the mummy has blood on him, and he's got a cobra coming up in the foreground from the ground coming up, and I think there's the cobra is also wrapped around his leg or something. And as a result, you had a whole generation of mummy toys that have blood on them, and bleeding eyes, and cobras. The kit was reissued in the 70s as a glow-in-the-dark kit with redone artwork. It was 1969 was the first issue for the square box Aurora models. But then in 1972, they put them out again, and they redid the artwork, and now the mummy had like a yellow head, glowing head, but it still had the blood, and the oozing blood in the eye, and the cobra coming up. And throughout the 60s, and particularly in the 70s, I think more so maybe even in the 70s, you had all these bloody mummies. Even if they weren't based on the Universal mummy, they still had blood. And then you had cobras, like they're jigglers, like rubber jigglers, mummy jigglers that have cobras snaking around one leg of the jiggler. And that's a direct influence from the James Bama 1960s mummy artwork, which was then continued into the 1970s as the model kits were reissued. So that was very influential. So you see a lot of bloody mummies, and a lot of mummies with cobras involved somehow because of that artwork. And this becomes especially true with the Wolfman as far as the relationship with the James Bama artwork. You'll see in a moment, especially with the Wolfman, the James Bama Aurora artwork was very, very influential with the design of Wolfman toys throughout the 60s. So instead of doing Wolfman next, let's do Creature. Because Wolfman, we need to give him some special attention. Here is the Creature from the Black Lagoon. That is a brilliant looking toy. Just the color and everything, it just pops. It's wonderful looking. So here he is, the Colgate-Palmolive Creature from the Black Lagoon. And you notice he has red lips. That's another Aurora James Bama inspiration. Now, well, I shouldn't say that. There were the publicity material for Creature from the Black Lagoon shows him with red lips. So even when the movie was brand new, the poster art, the lobby cards, all of that had red lips. The promotional photos of the costume had red lips, but I think most people today agree that as they were actually shooting the movie, the costume on camera didn't have red lips. I don't think it did. Just if you take, we're really going far afield from talking about the toy now, but if you take the color photos of the creature costume that have red lips, the promotional photos, and make them black and white, you can still see the red paint. And when you watch the movie, you don't see that. So, yeah, I think the general wisdom these days is that the creature you see in the movie doesn't have red lips. But they painted the lips red for promotional photos, and then that ended up getting on the posters and the lobby cards, and then that ended up creating this impression that the character has red lips, and the Aurora 60s and 70s model kits, the artwork had luscious red lips, and so a bunch of toys, all through the 60s and 70s, a bunch of creature toys had red lips. And even to this day, you still sometimes see creature toys with red lips. But interestingly, the Azrak Hanway creature, which is modeled right off the Aurora model kit, doesn't have red lips, so that's interesting. But this does. This has red lips. So that's a whole big long side road just talking about the lips, why he has red lips. But I like his red lips. I like creature toys to have red lips. I think it's cool. And he's holding what appears to be a salmon, just based on the color. He's holding lunch. This is his lunch. He's like saying, okay, yeah, let's get this bubble bath over with. I gotta eat my fish. I don't think that's a pet, the way he's holding it. I think that's lunch. And it's just interesting, the very fishy colors. The fish and his stomach both are sort of fishy colors. And it's interesting that they chose that. You would have thought maybe they'd make his stomach green or a lighter green or something. I don't know, but they chose these very fish-like colors. The fish itself is sort of a salmon, and then his stomach is sort of a fish color too. It's kind of a pumpkin color, but I think that's not what they're going for. It's kind of a sweet potato color, like a yam, I don't know. But I think it's fishy. So this guy, I mean, he's a wonderful sculpt, translating this character into this style, into this kind of a toy, this very stylized, cartoon-like toy, but it still captures the character. And you can see all the texture in his scales. I mean, he's as textured as an Aurora model kit. I mean, yes, it's a cartoony kind of a style interpretation, but they didn't skimp on that, on the sculpt. Now you see these lines. They look like cracks, but they're not. You know, I thought they were when I first got this, but no, they're just lines in the plastic. They're not cracks. But, and I did, when I first got them 20 years ago, I did pop the head off. I'm like, what's with these lines? But they're not cracks. But a lot of these do have cracks, and I wonder about those lines, if that's where the cracks start, if those are like lines that happen in the mold when the plastic's coming together. Maybe that's where the cracks begin, if it's going to crack. I don't know, but it's not cracked. All right, now let's talk about the Wolfman. As I said, there's a reason we're saving him for last. here is the Wolfman. And I guess he's brown, but he's actually kind of a metallic brown. Kind of a bronze. He's not exactly gold. He's too dark for that. He's sort of a bronze. It's like a very metallic brown, which is an interesting color choice. And on camera, he really looks metallic. Very metallic. And more golden on camera. Now, he has blood on his chest, but you can barely see it. It's sort of faded, but it's there. And there's his blue ripped up pants. And here again, you see he has a rope belt. And here again, we have the influence in many ways, the influence of the Aurora model kit. Not just James Bama's artwork, but the kit itself. So that's the Colgate-Palmolive Wolfman Soaky. Wonderful head. Look at those eyes and those fangs. Very, very cool. Now, why does he have devil horns? You see, he has ears. You can see them right there. But what are those horns? The Wolfman doesn't have horns. What is that? So, this is why he has horns, and why he's not wearing a shirt, even though the Loncini Jr. Wolfman always wore a shirt and never had a rope around his waist. The James Bama artwork for the Aurora Wolfman model, which also came out around the same time as this, the box art mixes the Oliver Reed Curse of the Werewolf, the Hammer Werewolf, with the Universal Werewolf, because the most recent big werewolf movie at that time was Curse of the Werewolf. So James Bama, in his Aurora artwork, his painting for the box, he gave the Cheney Wolfman, because the model's based on the Universal Cheney Wolfman, he gave him pointy ears like the Oliver Reed Wolfman. So he has the Cheney face, but these pointy hammer-style werewolf ears. And then he gave him the Oliver Reed white shirt, ripped-up white shirt. So it's this mix of Hammer and Universal blended together. And because of that, a lot of 60s Wolfman merchandise has the ears on top, or 4 ears. Like this one has normal ears on the side of his head. Then it's also got these pointy ears on the top of the head. He's got 4 ears. Or maybe you're supposed to assume these are tufts of hair, perhaps. I don't know what you're supposed to think. But the reference material would have been the James Bama artwork. And that would have been the most current thing to look at, and the most popular representation of the Wolfman at that time, that all the kids were buying those model kits. So everyone wanted their toys to look like those. Now the model kit itself didn't look anything like the artwork on the box. The model kit itself had a head that did look fairly close to the Universal head. Did not have ears on top of the head, and it did not have the Hammer Oliver Reed costume, but it also didn't have the Universal costume. It had no shirt. It had essentially jeans, ripped up jeans, and instead of a belt, it had a rope tied around the waist. And so that's what you have here in a lot of toys into the 1970s. You had Wolfmen that had no shirt and had rope belts. Even something like the Azrak Hanway Wolfman figure, it has a shirt, but it has yarn around its waist to represent a rope belt. So, and all the Wolfman jigglers from the 70s, the rubber jigglers, they all have no shirt and ripped jeans and a rope around the waist. And all that is because of the Aurora model kit. The Aurora kit really, both the art on the box and the model kit itself, set the template for what Wolfman toys were going to look like for the next 20 years. Even the Remco Wolfman has a costume that looks nothing like the Universal Wolfman, and has yarn around the waist. It has a rope belt. So even then, it wasn't until so I guess the Remco Mini Monster Wolfman had a correct looking costume, I think, right? Yeah, that the Mini Monster had a correct looking costume. So I guess that might have been the first time we had a proper looking toy of the Universal Wolfman. And then the Imperial 1986 figure also had a correct looking costume. And I think from then on we've had all the Wolfman toys from then on, the licensed Universal Wolfman toys, all had costumes that looked like the movie, and the ears on top of the head went away after the 60s. I don't think any 1970s Wolfman toys had the ears on top of the head. Part of that reason is because the reissue Aurora model kit from 69 and 72 in the square boxes, the glow kits, they redid the artwork, as I said before, and in most cases they took the old 60s James Bond artwork and painted it over yellow to make it look like it's glowing. But with the Wolfman, they threw the old artwork out completely and painted a brand new painting that looked like the model kit. And it didn't have the ears on top of the head. So I think that, and I think it's very telling that the ears on top of the head go away on toys from the 70s. You don't see that past the 60s. And the Aurora model, also the box art, the ears go away on the box art. So I think the link between the Aurora box art and the toy design is very solid. That in the 60s, when Aurora presented the Wolfman looking like this, all the toys look like that. In the 70s, when the Aurora presented the Wolfman without the ears, all the toys did away with the ears, and you didn't see that again. So the toy companies, all different kinds of toys, were really very focused on those Aurora model kits. Those were the standard bearer. Those were the things everyone wanted to emulate. Those set the template, and everyone else followed what Aurora was doing. So let's see here. Let's just set him right there for the moment. So we're not done yet. We have another Wolfman. And the Wolfman is the only Soaky, that monster Soaky, that has a variant. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I know, the only Soaky that has two versions is the Wolfman. So here is the other Wolfman, and it's the same sculpt. Yeah, it's the same sculpt. The only difference is, you can see it right away, he has red pants. This Wolfman has red pants. And yeah, there, you can see his face is the same. Same face. Really cute. But pants are red. So this is, I guess this is the rarest of the monster Soakies. This Wolfman with red pants, that's the hardest one to find. He does not turn up very often. I think the second hardest one, yeah, I guess it's the creature. But I don't know, is he harder to find, or is he just more popular? But this red pants Wolfman is a whole lot harder to find than the creature or any other of the monster Soakies. There's no contest. This is the hardest one to find. Let's just have a shot of these if we can get them together. There we go. There's a shot of them together. So there they are. Let's see, is there anything else I've forgotten to say? In the description, I'm going to post a link to another YouTube video. It's a commercial, a television commercial for the Soakies, specifically the Creature and Mummy Soakies. So I'm assuming Frankenstein and Wolfman must have come out first, and then Creature and Mummy came out afterward, because this commercial is presenting the Mummy and Creature as the new products. It doesn't include Frankenstein or Wolfman. And in this commercial, you'll see the Soaky Kid, and he's the mascot for the Soaky brand. So they used this Soaky Kid on, well, I mean, he's on the packaging, he's in a bathtub there, but they used him in advertisements and commercials and whatever. He was like he was the one who would tell you about the Soakies and say, hey kids, guess what, we got new Soakies. There we go. You know, he'd hold the Soakies up, and in the commercials they always use photographs. Everything else is a cartoon, but the Soakies they're holding in their hands are photographs of the actual Soakies. So you have a cartoon holding the photographic Soaky, and the Soaky Kid will hold the Soakies and tell you about the new Soakies that are available. So let's see if we can very carefully stand these up. So we'll have a nice little money shot here. Let me see if I can get him in here like this. Okay. Yeah, that didn't. I thought maybe if I turned him around he'd stand up better, but it's really no difference. Ooh. Okay. These are going back in their bubble wrap very soon. Okay. I mean, you can see they're in very, very nice condition, and I want to keep them that way. So there they are. There they are, the Colgate-Palmolive Monster Soakies. The entire set. The complete set. And as I said, originally they all had these little boxes. So if they were all complete, each one would have the little red box. I think they came in two colors, but I don't know if the monster ones came in two colors. The monster ones might have all been red. I don't know, but they all had the little boxes, and they all had tags hanging around their neck. Big, I think they're black, big black tags with the Soaky branding, and that's how they were sold in stores. And you almost never see them with either, but particularly the tags. Well, occasionally you'll see a box, but you almost never see a tag. And I don't know, I don't think I've ever seen a complete set of the 4 monsters where all 4 had the boxes and the tags. They're reproduction tags, so when you do see them with tags, it's almost always a repro, because that's very easy to reproduce. And it's hard if you just see a photo online. It's hard to know whether you're looking at a real tag or a repro tag. The boxes are a little, I'm sure you could reproduce them, but they're a little more difficult. It's not quite as easy to fake one of those boxes as it would be to fake a tag. So there you have it. Colgate-Palmolive Monster Soakies. I don't know what else I can say. They're very iconic 1960s monster items, just like the glasses we talked about last time. They're not that hard to find, except for the red pants Wolfman. They're not that expensive. They're not, they're not cheap. In so-so condition with a bunch of paint wear and some cracks, they're cheap. I'm sure you could get them under 50 bucks if they, have issues. If you want them in really, really nice condition, and this is pretty nice condition for a Soaky. If you want them in really nice condition, I guess maybe 100 each. 150 for the creature, maybe. I don't know. And I don't know what the red pants Wolfman is going for these days, but he'd be the most expensive one. And I could be way off with my prices, but I mean, you can find them cheap, but usually that's in ratty condition. You find these in antique malls, thrift stores. They're the kind of thing that they were so mainstream at the time, and they're so durable, except for the heads. And a lot of people who had these as kids, they're still knocking around in the attic or whatever, or in the toy box or in storage. They're still knocking around. And they're one of those things that ends up at the antique store, at the thrift store. They're one of those things that you might still see in a garage sale, that kind of thing. But the condition is probably not going to be so great. So if you want them in collector condition, just a good rule of thumb might be roughly $100 each, more or less, with maybe a little more for the creature and a lot more for the red pants Wolfman. And that's not with a box or a tag. I don't even know what a complete set with boxes and tags, genuine boxes and tags, nice paint, no cracks, that might run into some money. And that would take a while because you're not going to find them all together like that. Trying to find them in that condition, that will take you a while. If you just want a set of decent, like the 4 Soakies in decent shape with reasonably good paint, you can get it. So the reason I'm going on and on about this, like the glasses, I'm saying if you want to get into 60s monster items, so much of that stuff is so expensive and so hard to find and so out of reach, that here's something that's not as expensive, not as out of reach, that you can get these. You can obtain these if you really try. So along, as I was saying with the glasses, if you want to get into 60s monster items, so much of that stuff is so daunting and seems like it's so impossible to get. But here are some very iconic, very well-known pieces that will really pop in your collection, and you'll get a lot of oohs and ahs if you have a set of these in nice condition. But you're not going to break the bank. You're not going to spend thousands of dollars, and it's not going to take you years and years to find. So I would recommend if you collect more like modern, contemporary monster items, and maybe you've got some, I don't know, some 90s monster items, and you're trying to get into more vintage stuff. The glasses that we had last episode and these Soakies are really good vintage monster items. Another one that we'll look at one day would be the Marx figurines, the hard plastic figurines in orange and teal. That's another good one to get into. You can get a set of those without spending a fortune. And so there are still some really good 60s, iconic 60s monster items that have a lot of wow appeal, that are very impressive, but are not that expensive and they're not that hard to find. So I would recommend getting into these. If you want to get into 60s monster items, these might be some of the first things you might want to go for. These, the glasses, maybe the Marx figurines, and within a year or so you should be able to get all those, and you're on your way to having a nice little 60s monster collection. Find some vintage Aurora built-ups, maybe, like Kid built. You know, add one of the easier to find Hasbro mystery games. You know, a little this, a little that, and before you know it, you'll have a nice little 60s monster display, and you can show it off, and people will be like, wow. And you won't have to go through hell to get it. Okay, let's wrap it up now. Yeah, time to wrap it up. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed our look at the Colgate-Palmolive Monster Soakies. I think you'll agree these are adorable, iconic, wonderful 60s monster items. They're obviously something made for kids. They don't have the seriousness and the kind of the gloomy dreariness of a lot of contemporary monster toys. And they don't have that universal style guide corporate look. These are fun. They're fun kids' toys. They're bubble bath toys. And they're monsters. So thank you again for watching. Please subscribe and join the Basement of Horror Facebook group. You'll find a link in the description along with a link to that commercial I told you about. And I will see you next time. Until then, Basement of Horror will return.